This is KC Sports Tonight.
Hey, wow, it's just Jared. How's that? That's not what the people want at all. There we go.
There's the money shot. What a way to start.
Honestly, it's going to be years before I completely figure out how to drive this incredibly complex to me, probably really simple, but incredibly complex to me contraption here to get the buttons right. But I think we're good. I believe there we go. I believe we're both. Audio is good, video is good. Hi, and welcome everybody. Let's just pretend the last 45 seconds never happened. Welcome everybody. KC Sports Tonight, the Thursday edition, and it's a busy couple of days around here. Today, Chiefs back at it. They've been back at it for 3 days, Jared Koller, but this was the first of those 3 days that cameras were allowed in, so we had our media availability. The bit of a bummer was no Andy Reid, no players, but we did hear from all the assistant coaches, or most of the assistant coaches, coordinators front and center. But you also got to watch practice. Any quick nuggets from your bird's eye view?
Watch practice in the sense that 8 minutes off the jump.
Stretching before practice, yes.
So unfortunately I don't have, because there's, sometimes you can read a lot into this was not it. But let's start there. From what I saw, the actually – to me, at least, interesting thing was the drills they did with Patrick Mahomes, in the sense that there was times where he was like, they would do a direct snap and then like he would get the handoff, and he was like, they were doing a lot of like mobile drills that you'd run with like a run first quarterback. Patrick Mahomes is not that, but I thought it was interesting that, hey, even in May, they're practicing drills where Mahomes is rolling out in the backfield, then coming back and taking the snap and then running like an option. Like, they are going through all the playbook, and I think Mahomes' mobility is something that is overlooked when we think about what makes Patrick Mahomes great. And that's what we do this time of year, right? We talk about, hey, how great Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are. Well, one of the reasons they're great is because, Scott, in the playoffs, if you look at Mahomes' biggest games, a lot of times it's in part because he's able to run for first downs. And so seeing that today in May, I was like, yeah, that's why he's, one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever live. Even in May, he's getting creative and making sure the legs are still loose.
What's crazy to me, and I don't want to get too far off the beaten path here, but you say that you think it's still an underrated aspect of his game. And I don't dispute for a second how important an aspect it is, because you're right, especially in games that really matter. Without fail, there's one or two plays that he makes with his legs that literally help decide the game in the Chiefs' favor. Why is it still underrated? Like, do people really not realize at this point that, he's not Lamar Jackson, but Patrick Mahomes makes a lot of really big plays with his legs?
Probably not underrated here in Kansas City, but nationally I think it's taken a little while for people to realize the narrative of Mahomes being a deep ball thrower has not been true for a couple of years. Like, if you think about his rookie year when he tossed 50-plus touchdowns, won MVP, like, everybody's like, oh my gosh, he's got the biggest arm in the league and all the deep balls. Well, they just won back-to-back Super Bowls where they were not a good deep ball team. In fact, one of the worst in the league this past year, and that's something they're now working on in practice and is a legit focus that Matt Nagy talked about today. And that's why they brought in Xavier Worthy in the first round and signed free agent Hollywood Brown, is to have more deep balls. Yet, as of like even a year ago, I think a lot of national people were like, oh, Mahomes, he's that gunslinger. Well, not really. He has evolved into being a smart quarterback who can beat you over the top when he has receivers capable of doing that. So, now I think it takes a little while for national narratives to change. With the exception of people thinking the Chargers are going to be good in May every year. That is an annual tradition that people forget how the Chargers actually end up.
And you know what? I would say that after last year, that's finally going to change, but I don't think that's true. With Harbaugh coming in, and I think there is probably some legitimate reason for some optimism, but you're right. I think once again, the Chargers are going to be that team. They're going to surprise you in the AFC West. Death, taxes, and Chargers optimism.
But no, as far as practice itself, we saw Reiss Zamet.
Yep.
He was back there returning punts. He looks like a football player that, walks off the bus well, but Dave Toub today said, he's got a big learning curve to grow into. But it was good seeing him out there. Travis Kelce was out there. We saw him, he's participated in most of the voluntary workouts. We know there's a lot of other places in the world, a lot of things he could be doing, but he's here practicing with the with the full team. And spirited practices, which that's the headline right there. Steve, for the second week in a row, coaches and players have talked about how it's a vocal practice, how when they're doing their main drills, there's no pads, Scott, so, there's not a lot of hit sticks being unleashed. But Isaiah Pacheco was talking trash today. Last week, Drew Tranquill and Nick Bolton were talking trash. It's a vocal bunch, which I think is not a surprise when you have a competitively driven team, but it's nice to see in May that they're not just going through the motions. They're actually going up against each other.
We saw that last year, too. I mean, remember the video of Kelsey mixing it up with one of the DBs?
But that's training camp. I expect that with training camp.
They are actually hitting. Yeah,
that's fair. But you're also in the dorms. You're up at the crack of dawn.
Right.
It's 100 degrees
just ornery
out.
In general.
You're doing it every single day. Like, there's normally a training camp fight every year.
Yeah.
And there hadn't been a fight in OTAs, but just the fact that we're talking about, these are intense practices, I think it's a good sign.
So the need for Snead, which I liked just because it's clever, obviously L'Jarius Snead is no longer in Kansas City, but they do need to replace him, and they didn't get too much into that today, but I think it's going to be one of the important headlines heading into training camp. Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams, the first two, obviously, who will get a crack at that starting cornerback spot opposite Trent McDuffie. But, they couple of draft picks, a safety and a corner who they're very, very high on, and they were the focus of some of the coordinator talk today.
Yeah, I'll throw Najee Johnson into that because, Scott, if you remember.
And Chamari Connor also drew rave reviews today from, was it Spags who said
Steve Spagnuolo,
night and day, right?
Right, and he's kind of a little bit more hybrid as far as I think he's considered probably a safety rather than a corner, but I think that's a part of it. But I do want to mention Najee Johnson because he was a 7th-round pick that had a season-ending surgery early on in training camp. He was talked about as a guy that had jumped Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson in reps last year before he got hurt. So that's a name to watch.
Yeah.
Coming back from an injury, who knows? I agree with your overall sentiment. But you mentioned Chamari Connor because Steve Spagnuolo, when asked about guys playing in the slot, he said maybe Connor can come in there. Brian Cook, when healthy, can help out there. He said in a pinch, Justin Reed can also help out. And I think that's an interesting way of thinking about it. Like, okay, if you don't have a hard-nosed slot corner, but you rely more on your safeties to be more physical in the middle.
By committee.
Right. I think that's kind of a unique way to think about it if you don't have a natural progression where you're like, okay, Joshua Williams is going to slot right in, where you have a rotation between Williams and Watson on the outside along with Trent McDuffie, and then maybe your safety gets more action. Listen, it's May. They don't know what the rotation is going to be, and it's going to change through the years, and there's going to be injuries, but I think as a whole they have enough numbers to be successful. I don't know if that means leaning more on the cornerback depth, leaning more on the safety depth, or just the overall scheming up. So I don't know what the answer is, but I think they have the tools in the shed.
So you mentioned Justin Reed, which segues to our special teams discussion, and I put special in quotes just to sort of emphasize the special nature of what we are now dealing with. This is a new era in special teams in the NFL, not just with the Chiefs, but it's XFL meets NFL. And what Dave Taub said, he watched all 1,600 XFL games. Or whatever,
he said he watched every XFL.
God bless.
Kickoff.
But kickoffs are not going to even remotely resemble what we have become accustomed to. So teams are adjusting on the fly, and the Chiefs are taking this to heart, and they're all in on kind of examining the possibilities of where this might go. And they identified some of those possibilities today, and the concern about Harrison Butker being on the field for kickoffs, because guys who kick off are involved, at least in the XFL, with those 1,600 kickoffs, 30 to 40% of them, Tobe said, the kicker is involved in the tackle in some way, shape, or form. They don't want Harrison Butker on the field making tackles, so they've actually floated the idea of Justin Reed, who we have seen kick before, or Louis Rees-Zammit, the special teams maven from Wales, possibly being involved as not just as gunners and not just as kick returners, but as kickoff specialists. I mean, I don't know if this is actually going to happen, but it's certainly interesting.
No, well, so a couple of things. One, I disagree a little bit with your characterization in the fact of saying concern for Harrison Butker. I didn't get that impression. I would say more they saw it as an advantage that they could have Justin Reed.
So
and
it wasn't we're afraid he's going to get hurt. It was we can actually be better with better tacklers.
And then,
fair enough.
But also the idea of not having Harrison out there consistently for that risk. Like, that's a part of it, but I don't think it was first priority get Harrison off the field. I don't think, and Dave Tobe said Harrison will still, because like after safeties, now the kicker can kick it, but he kicks it from their 20.
Right.
Well, he said Harrison Butker can kick it 80 yards, and so he said then you get a touchback on a safety like that. That's very valuable. Or in times where you just want a touchback, where if you've got a big lead and you don't want to give up a big return, then the ball starts at the 30 instead of the 25. Like in past years, you lose the 5 yards. So I think Butker will still be involved. But no, I got the impression that they view this as an opportunity to be in a better spot than other teams, because they have the tools that other teams might not have. Now, every team this offseason probably has asked everybody in the roster, hey, did you kick in high school?
Right.
Couldn't you? Because you don't need to be the best kicker in the world to be a valuable player on special teams in this new landscape. I would say this, that I'm pretty impressed by the work and comments of special teams coordinator Dave Tobe, in the sense that I don't really understand what we're going to see when this starts. Okay?
I don't think anybody does.
But, well, Dave Tobe, if anybody knows, it's Dave Tobe.
Unless you are a diehard XFL fan.
And now I would categorize Dave Tobe as that. He went in very detail about how every single practice, training camp, and now they're going to practice this. And he says he draws up new plays every day, and he says some of them they test them and it doesn't work. and he's just going through everything now to figure out how they can have a competitive advantage week one, because then he said other teams are going to copy each other. But if you can have that early advantage with this new rule, listen, special teams, it's cost the Chiefs at times, but more often than not, they've been the better team, because they have one of the greatest kickers of all time, accuracy-wise and distance-wise, in Harrison Butker. And I think they view this as another opportunity where if they can have Justin Reed place the ball where they need it while really laying a hit stick, whereas other teams maybe wouldn't. Dave Tobe is on top of this, and he really feels invigorated by this change. He says, last year there were 1,900 kickoffs that resulted in a touchback. Well, now there's not going to be that many, and so it adds an element to the game that he's fired up about.
He must be, fired up. He's got to be kind of like a kid in a candy store. This, it's the strategic possibilities. It's like you're creating a whole new brand of football in terms of the special teams.
He said it's creating jobs, which is like, I didn't know if he's running for president or not, but he's like, hey, bring jobs to.
It's a bad day for that. But
that's sorry, but he said it's creating jobs, as far as like, would Luis Reiss Zamet make the team without the special teams rule? Maybe, but I feel like he's more likely to now, so it rewards a more versatile skill set. Justin Reed's going to be a free agent after this year. Are they more likely to sign him to a new deal because he can be a really valuable kicker?
That's awesome.
Maybe. That's a credit to Justin Reed for being able to do that.
Yeah, no, I love that. And Luis Zamet, he's making the team, right? He didn't cost you a roster spot.
Yeah,
it's an extra roster spot.
Right? No, that's a good point.
There's no disincentive.
I still think that my expectations are really low, just because
I don't know what I have no idea what whether he will bring anything.
He just started playing football,
right?
So
but he will be on the team.
Yeah, we'll take it.
And again, I saw this. He
was at the Sporting Kansas City game last night, watching me play in the media soccer game.
Yeah. No, how'd that go? By the way,
I had a pretty strong crossing assist. Again,
did you?
Nice. Check out the video.
I did. I check that out.
But it was very early on in the game, and I was running a full field. You kind of have one sprint in you, and then you're done. Thankfully, that cross came on the first
like
sprint.
minute two. That's good.
Yeah, pretty much. Sorry for getting it.
No, that's fine. I asked, but I will say, and I don't know if I had this conversation with you. It might have been with Marlia a couple weeks ago. But I was in the Bay Area when the 49ers went through this with Jared Hayne.
Yep.
Was 5-6 years ago. Same exact deal. He was from Australia, not Wales, but rugby player, same idea. And he had a role. He came in, he was all the talk of training camp, and there, cameras were on him, and then, the quarterback's talking. No, but Jared Hayne, man, they all wanted to hear the accent. But he not only made the team, but for a year or two, and certainly that first year, he played on special teams. He got the occasional, carry in the backfield. And so, there is some precedence for this guy to contribute. He's not going to be, an all-pro player, but there is some precedent for him to be on the field in some capacity and contribute, especially in this new world order of special teams. So it makes it fun. All right, let's talk baseball. This one was a bummer. I'm not going to lie. Hang on one sec. Let's. No, that's. There we go.
Boom. It's a bummer, but Scott, it's the same movie in the sense that the Royals on this road trip had a 3-4 road trip at Tampa, at Minnesota. You would agree those are, solid teams. You go 3-4, and your 4 losses, you had the game-winning run on base in the 9th inning of all 4 losses. Once again today, Daniel Lynch called up, and he does what has happened for the last month. Another starter goes 5+ innings, allowing, in this case, 2 runs or less. And it kept him in the ball game. They had a chance to win at the end. They didn't. But yet again, this team is playing competitive baseball day in and day out. Scott, they've not had a game that they didn't win or they didn't have the game-winning run on in the 9th inning since May 13th. Like, that's night in and night out.
No, it's
for a team that lost 106 games last year.
No doubt. And I actually had one of our sales guys was giving me a hard time today because he watched the show yesterday and he said I came across as the negative guy about the Royals, right, sitting next to you.
Well, that's
most people context. So let me say a lot of things that I really like about today. The first was you just hit on it was Daniel Lynch. Twice now he has been called upon with virtually no notice for spot start duty. Brady Singer gets sick last night. They call on Lynch and didn't give up any runs the first outing. Today he gave up 2 earned runs in 5 innings, but I mean he left this team with the lead in position to win the game. So you cannot ask for anything more from a guy who's your 6th starter at this point and who's being given 12 hours notice, whatever it is. Like, hey, we need you to pitch today. So that was one thing. They hit in patches today. MJ Melendez had not only the home run, which you see on the screen, his first home run since April 19th, which is astounding. It was his first road RBI of the season.
It was a bomb, too.
It was a bomb. But, I mean, that's a guy who plays almost every day to not have a road RBI 2 days before June is impossible. Yeah. But that said, it wasn't just the home run. He had good swings today, hit the ball hard multiple times. So that, that certainly does things, I think, for the collective psyche. Vinny going yard for the first time in, 19 games or something?
Back from injury, too.
Back from the injury,
Only
obviously,
missed one game.
He's fine. So certainly, there were some glimmers of positivity today. The defense has been so good all year. It's starting to leak a little bit. Or it did on this road trip. And, particularly a guy who, and look, Bobby Witt Jr. leads the world in runs saved per game. So, you can't knock the guy's defense. He's phenomenal at shortstop. But he had a big error today that led to a run. There were a couple of walks mixed in that 4-run inning that went from, 4-0 to 4-4. And he had an error the other day, too, which factored into a run. So, you're not going to be perfect all year. I get that. But this was certainly when you're up 4-0 on the road. And look, I said this before Monday. I said, if you can get 2 out of 4 in Minnesota, you are feeling fantastic. And they had every chance in the world to do it today.
Probably should have, over the 3 losses, you'd like to think they get 1.
Yeah, so, and that's the thing. You come back, and that's great, and it shows resilience. And maybe it's just law of averages. And next time, maybe, instead of scoring 2, they'll score 4 in the 9th and they'll win. But, boy, you'd like to see them actually tie the game or send it to extra innings at least one of these times because getting close every time is just frustrating. But, no, look, the team's still they're in great position.
It was a sloppy series, though.
Yeah, it was a sloppy series. It was.
Which we haven't seen that often this year for a team that has many wins. But, no, the Garrett Hampson had weird plays in left. MJ Melendez, who had been really good
Garrett
in left.
Hampson the other day, 2-in-1 game. Looked like he'd never played left field.
He looked like me sometimes. He still plays softball. But and again, MJ Melendez, who has been better than anyone could imagine left. He wasn't as good as he has been. Michael Garcia had an error as well, but also had a really nice play. So it happens. This series didn't go your way. But again, Scott, they go 3-4 on this road trip. If the Royals alternate weeks, going 3-4, 4-3 the rest of the way, they're a playoff team.
Yeah,
I mean that's where the key is, avoiding the long losing streak.
No, that's true.
And that's what they did, and that's why this rotation is so valuable. That now you can go 6 deep, even if you throw Daniel Lynch in there every now and then.
Almost 7 deep. Right, we're getting close.
Right, with Chris Bubich. Well, that's a different conversation. That's probably interesting, but you're avoiding those losing streaks. I think if we're going to reverse the roles here, you were very positive. Okay, so just to show that I can be a little negative in the sense that I disagree with.
It's not negative. It's just critical.
Right.
And it's our job to be critical.
Scott thinks they're staying at the wrong hotels and they're waking up in the wrong side of the bed on the road. He thinks they are a worse team on the road.
There's just no good restaurants apparently in Tampa or Minnesota.
Right.
In Minneapolis. That's the problem.
Scott's worried about the home road split. I don't care about that. I think Scott's more worried about the offense than I am in the sense that I think when you've got Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez playing as superstars, they're going to be really good, and I have confidence Michael Garcia, Vinny Pasquantino, and Michael Massey, when healthy, can be good enough, and then you just need occasional Nelly nukes from Nelson Velasquez, MJ Melendez running into one, Hunter Renfroe running into one, with defense from Kyle Isbell. I think this offense can be a playoff lineup. I'm concerned about the bullpen, and I have been, and I don't think this bullpen is really all that close to being good enough to be a bullpen that in its current iteration can lead the team to the playoffs. The good news is you don't have to give up a ton to acquire a reliever that can help.
That's the spot you can address with the most simplicity
at the deadline. Now, I don't want to give up Cole Reagans for Aroldis Chapman. Okay, so
who would do that?
Yeah, shout out JJ Piccolo. But guess what? He's going to have to do it again this year because they only have 2 relievers that I think are remotely trustworthy in leverage situations, and they went out and really addressed the bullpen this offseason. I think they're really 1 for 4. And I think they're 4 for 4 in having big league arms. Like, I don't think Chris Stratton should be designated.
I mean, Carlos Hernandez is a big league arm, but you don't trust him in
no, I'm
leverage
talking
situation.
about the 4 that they signed. So,
okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. John Schreiber has been awesome.
Yes.
And, he and James MacArthur are two I trust.
Sure.
Chris Stratton is not. Right now, he's the next guy after those 2, and I don't think he's good enough. Will Smith was originally the closer. He's been knocked down. Nick Anderson has stuff, but he hasn't done well. Those 3 guys, I think, deserve to be on the team, but as like your 5th, 6th, 7th relievers.
Right.
They need
2 guys.
Yeah, and one of those guys needs to be like a 9th, 8th inning guy because
I agree.
And so I think that's doable, but that is easily where I'm most negative because the bullpen has cost them games this year. Like every team. Listen, Royals fans, 2014 HDH ain't walking through that door. Okay, that was statistically one of the greatest bullpen trios. that they did. And that has scarred our expectations. Relievers give up runs. Scott, you know that across baseball, so expecting
yes, indeed. It's an
perfect
epidemic.
reliever is unfair.
Yes.
But you need better depth than the Royals have, for sure.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of terrible bullpens in Major League Baseball. The Royals were a terrible bullpen a year ago.
Statistically, they're not as bad as probably Royals fans think.
I'm not. This year, they're okay. I'm not saying they're terrible, but they do need to be better to be a playoff team. Yes.
I think they're due for aggression in the sense that Scott, they're not striking anybody out.
Yeah.
Like that's. I don't know how sustainable it is, and that's why I'm not as down on Carlos Hernandez as you are because we saw for like 2 months last year we're like, all right, he's the closer. Yeah. He has great stuff. He's just inconsistent as heck, and when he doesn't have it, boy, he doesn't have it. Yeah. But, like, he's the only guy that can touch 99 in that bullpen, really.
Yeah, and he touches triple digits.
In the year of our Lord 2024, that's not great when, you're not having the velocity.
Although, can I shout out Sammy Long? He hasn't pitched in anything resembling a leverage situation yet.
Sure.
But his numbers at AAA this year were good. We have seen guys... Ronel Blanco for the Astros is like the outlier in terms of 30 years old, never been remotely decent, and now he's, got an ERA of 2. But when you don't see that with starting pitchers, but you do see it from time to time with relievers, especially converted starters, and Long was a starter when he came up with San Francisco, is sometimes you figure it out later in the career when you're 27, 28, 29, and you can become a really, really good relief pitcher. And from what I've seen so far, this guy's a left-handed arm that can help this team.
Well, look at James MacArthur, who was DFA'd at this time last year.
Exactly.
Scott remembers his Major League debut when he gave up like 7 runs and didn't make it an inning. And then by September, he was closing games against the Astros and now is, a solid reliever. Like, all it takes is a little, move your grip just a little inch to the right, and suddenly, boy, you've got some RPMs off the, you can go crazy. So, no, I think that's where if you're going to have a flaw, or if your biggest flaw is going to be your bullpen, because you got dudes in the minors. John McMillan, I thought was great last year. Not been great this year, Scott, but like there's stuff there. Will Klein came up. I mean, there's options. The weird thing, you mentioned Chris Bubich, and I'm sure we'll talk about this, in the coming weeks, but like he's a guy that's going to be on this team. but he's not really ideally a bullpen guy. I don't really know what you do with him, but maybe if you bookend him with Alec Marsh, where you say, hey, those are 2 pitchers, Dave. You go 5 and 4 innings. Do you move Alec Marsh to the bullpen? Do you move Brady Singer to the bullpen? Again, we can get more into this when that's an actual problem.
Right.
But
it's a good problem to have.
That's a potential part of a solution, but they need more than just that.
Quickly want to address the standings just because we've had them up there. Now 3 games back pending. Did Cleveland play today? I actually didn't check the schedule. I don't know if the Guardians play today, but they're 3 back pending whatever that result is if Cleveland goes today. But one thing that I noted last night on Twitter, which is fascinating, that last night was the first time in 19 days that the Guardians and Royals had the same result.
Yeah.
Or had, I'm sorry. That the rewind. First time in 19 days that the Royals won and the Guardians lost.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, right?
Yeah. Well, they both went on crazy win streaks.
They both went on crazy win streaks. And yeah, so, I mean, the point was it was the first time they were able to pick up a game in almost 3 weeks, and then they gave it right back today. But, you're in a good spot. You're 12 over 500.
13 games with Cleveland,
you
still
got 13
in the
with Cleveland. You got to go
so.
on the road. Is it next week to Cleveland or the week after? Sometime soon they're going out to Cleveland. And again, like Minnesota, that'll be a big, big road series. But for now, you're coming home. You get the Padres, and you got Big Slick.
Boom.
Big Slick tomorrow. So that'll be fun. You've got the list.
I do.
You want to give us some of the
Yeah,
highlights?
so folks, if you're looking for a reason to come out to the K tomorrow, besides the fact that you might see a wild Scott Reiss in front of the first base dugout at between 5 and 6, the Big Slick softball game starts at 5 o'clock, and then they have their charity show Saturday at the T-Mobile Center. And remember, Big Slick, all proceeds, all efforts go to Children's Mercy Hospital right here in Kansas City. And the great thing about it is that it's put on by hometown guys. This is the 15th annual Big Slick that they've had here in Kansas City. It's grown every year, and so they're going to be playing a softball game at 5 o'clock. The hosts, as we know, are Kansas City natives. I'm not talking about, Los Angeles where there's all kinds of Hollywood stars. No, Paul Rudd, Jason Sudeikis, Eric Stonestreet, Rob Riggle, David Koechner, and Heidi Gardner are all Kansas Cityans. How cool is that? Scott, before you moved to Kansas City, did you know all those awesome people were from Kansas City?
I knew that a couple of them were.
There
I did not know all of them.
Well, they rep the city well. They're proud to be from Kansas City, and they're bringing all their Hollywood friends here to join Scott in the migration of the Midwest. Names like Weird Al Yankovic, who isn't your son a big Weird Al fan?
He is, yeah.
There you go. Shout out. Back-to-back days, I'm shouting out a young Mr. Reiss. Weird Al, Sean Evans of Hot Ones, Sheryl Crow, who's a Mizzou grad, by the way. Also Brad Pitt, not going to be there, but also Mizzou grad. Murr, Q, and Joe from Impractical Jokers. Tech Nine,
okay, yeah, you lost
some Tech Nine from Kansas City. Al Roker,
of course.
Al Roker's
going to be there.
Al Roker, Adam Scott from Parks and Rec and many movies. Ariel Winter from Modern Family. George Wendt from Cheers. Taron Killam from Saturday Night Live. Kumail Nanjiani from The Eternals and many other things. Will Forte from SNL. Gaten Matarazzo from Stranger Things. David Cook, who I'm one of the bigger David Cook fans because he's from Blue Springs and he won American Idol. And I voted like crazy for him in season 7 as a young Kansas City native.
Is he going to sing the anthem before the Royals?
He should, man. David Cook loves
great.
Kansas City and beat out David Archuleta. Shout out American Idol. And then the Ringers, Eric Hosmer, Mike Moustakis, Jeremy Guthrie, back in town. They loved their reunion so much. Jeremy Guthrie's done it in the past, but this is the first time we got Moose and Haas. I'm hoping they play first and third and maybe a ground ball gets hit to him so I can have pennant-winning flashbacks from 14 and 15. Jared Koller not playing. Listen, good for them because my slow pitch softball batting average is pretty good in the spring session. So they already had enough ringers with Haas and Moose. So coming out to the K tomorrow.
I was hoping to see Moose across the diamond to Koller for the final out.
Listen, I'll bring my glove. I will be ready if called upon. Okay, Scott's gonna have to hold me back. If you see the camera on Scott slowly
tilting toward the sky,
yeah, that Jared has run out on the field.
Yep.
No regrets.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, we're out of time. Good show tonight. Tomorrow, I think it's probably going to be Marlia and Neil, but we'll be at Big Slick. Neil will be at the Mavs. We got the Chiefs at the White House. Tomorrow's just an insane sports day here in Kansas City, so we will soak it all in, and I'll see you in 20 minutes over on
James
TV.
Shields salute.
See you. Oh my God! I just.
You didn't turn it off?
I didn't turn it. Yeah, we were. This is the thing. There's so many little things.
So what did we go out on?
Well, I mean, we were out on Facebook and YouTube because we're there. And the stream.
That's good.
God damn it! I mean, I feel terrible that I'm like screwing this up, but it's like, there's so many little things, and even the little thing with like the stinger, like it seems like sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
It wasn't our best start,
No.
we made up for it.